Hi everybody, Levi Clay here, and in today's video I'm hoping to inspire you. I'm hoping to inspire you in the way that I have been inspired over the last 3 years. In fact, I'll go one step further and say how my life has been changed musically in the last 3 years. So for those of you that have been following my channel for many years, and I've been doing this for longer than I care to admit at this point, you'll know that 3 years ago I started to play the piano. And that's really kind of changed a lot about my music, my approach to music, how I listen to music, and how I have focused on learning about music. So in today's video, I want to give you a little bit of an update on how my progress is doing on the piano, what I've learned, why I think you should be learning to play the piano, and I'm going to give you some tips in what you should be focusing on in the early stages of learning to play the piano in order to kind of supercharge your playing and avoid some of the pitfalls that I think many people are probably going to face when learning to play the piano. If you are interested in following me on this journey, I would recommend that you check out the link in the description to my friends over at Pianote. Now, Piano is where I went when I started my musical or piano journey in earnest. When I started to take things really seriously, I was using Piano very, very regularly. And it's a website that I still visit because I'm really fond of the video lessons over there. Wonderfully charismatic teachers using people like Lisa Witt in order to help show me how to accompany a singer in when performing was incredibly beneficial in my early days of development as a piano player. There's a ton of technique lessons over there, song lessons. They've more recently added thousands of transcriptions of songs. So you can now go and learn songs in a level of detail that suits your own personal needs. So whether you want to be a reader, whether you want to be somebody who learns and listens and focuses on the ear as an approach, Piano has absolutely got you covered, and you can get a completely free 30-day trial, no obligations, no questions asked, by using that link in the description, because they support the work that I do, and I'm happy to endorse the stuff that Piano does, because without those guys, I wouldn't be where I am on my piano journey now. So once again, thank you to Piano for your support, and check out that link, and maybe you'll see me over on their website soon. So how has playing the piano changed me in the last 3 years? Now, that's a very simple one to answer. Most of you guys probably think of me as the transcriber guy, right? You might think of me as one of the best transcribers on YouTube. And while I love getting compliments like that, I know it's just simply not true. I know that I can do a lot of impressive things as a transcriber, but in all honesty, I know where my weaknesses are, right? I know how to improve as a player. And my skill set lies on what I describe as single note recognition, which is being able to hear a note or a series of notes and find those notes on my instrument. That's an easy skill to develop. You just have to put the time into it. And my other skill is rhythmic recognition. So I can hear a series of notes and I can process not just what notes were played, but I can also hear the rhythm, repeat the rhythm in my head, and then kind of convert that rhythm into what it would look like when written down. Those are two very distinct skills. And it's allowed me to make, hundreds of transcription videos that have racked up millions and millions of views because they're educational and informative. But it's not really the stuff that I have to really use in my day-to-day work as a performing musician, as a playing musician, because I don't really learn guitar solos. I learn songs. I play with musicians. I have to go and play live with people, and I often have to play live with people who I've never met before, who I only meet at the gig. And I think it's very important that as musicians, we are competent and confident and able to learn vocabulary very quickly. And often for me, that can mean learning songs on the way to a gig. I might get a message saying, oh, we were thinking of adding this song to the set list. Do you think that you could get that one down? And back in the day where I'm playing the guitar and focusing on a shape-based approach to things, I'd think, riff, I need a tab for this. I've got to commit the whole thing to memory. But now, because I'm thinking more chordally, I can listen to a song on the way to a gig and learn the chord progression, focus on the harmony, and then be able to play that thing on my guitar without needing to pick up the guitar and work out how to play it. That's a really, really cool feeling, and something that you can absolutely develop quite quickly when you change your perspective of how you're thinking about learning to interpret and internalize music would probably be the best way of putting that. Something that happens to us regularly on gigs is people will make song requests of songs that we don't know. And as long as we can look at each other and say, well, we might not have played it, but we've all heard that song, right? We know how the song goes. So we should be able to play it, right? And we do. We'll take a stab at playing songs that we've never played before, because as long as we know the chord progression, as long as we can hear it in our heads, then it's something that can absolutely be worked on. So the guitar is a wonderful instrument, don't get me wrong. I love the guitar to bits, and I'll be a guitar player until the day I die. But what you find with a guitar, it's a very limited instrument because I play 6-string guitar, so I'm limited to 6 notes. And even then, it's limited in what you can physically reach on the instrument. We have range, but not quite as much range as an 88-key piano does. And in terms of voicings that we're able to play, we are incredibly limited. If I jump to something on the piano which is universal between the two, and I'm very big on triads. For those of you that have followed my guitar teaching for many years, you'll know that I'm a big advocate of the knowledge of triads. And that's a very piano-based approach, actually. If I play all of my C major triads on the piano, they'll look like this. And these translate really well over to the guitar, which is kind of why I teach them. So if I pick up the guitar and play those, they're going to sound like this. But things get a little bit trickier when we start introducing richer sounding chords. For example, on a piano, it's very easy to take one of those major triads and then just add in the second note of the scale. So 1, 2, 3, and 5, very easy to play on the piano, but playing that same 4-note cluster on the guitar is beyond hellish. Playing the inversions of that on the piano, very easy. Playing the inversions of that on the guitar, impossible. And I need to be able to hear a chord like that and play it. When I'm playing chords that are very rich in range or chords that contain more than 6 notes. I can play those quite easily on the piano, but I'm not able to do that on the guitar. So why does that matter? Well, I'm a big believer in the idea of chordal vocabulary. When you learn the sound of a chord, really internalize it. When you hear that chord, you can identify it. For many of you guys, if you hear an E major chord or a G major chord, because you're so used to those voicings on the guitar, you'll probably be able to identify them, right? And there are lots of voicings like that. For example, if I play this voicing on my guitar. What do we call this chord? You're probably thinking to yourself, Levi, yeah, that's the Hendrix chord. And I'd say, yes, absolutely, the Hendrix chord, or an E7 sharp 9 chord. If you answered that correctly, that's a really good sign, okay? What you've demonstrated there is you've created a connection between a sound and the name that you give to that sound, or a sound and your ability to instinctively play that sound on your instrument. You might not even have a name for that chord, but if you heard that chord and you know how to play that chord on your instrument, then your ears are very good. Your ears have demonstrated the ability to develop this skill. I think it's the same with all chord voicings. I think the more we expose ourselves to richer sounding chord voicings, the easier it becomes for us to hear them and have an emotional response to that particular chord voicing and be able to find it on your instrument. So I want to be looking at richer sounding chord voicings. More recently on the piano, I've been working on this lovely minor 11 chord voicing. So when I'm playing this, it's a 1, 5, flat 7 in my left hand, and my right hand would play 2, flat 3, 4, and flat 7. So 7-note voicing. So good luck playing this one on the guitar, right? It's a beautiful chord. Let me play that for you in a few keys so you can really hear what it sounds like. What a wonderful sounding chord, right? And because I've spent so much time working on just this one voicing in 12 keys, anytime I hear that chord sound now, I immediately go, that's a minor 11 chord, and I can play it on my instrument. Wonderful feeling. Or more importantly, when I'm playing music and I go to play a minor chord, my ear will hear a minor chord, or it might hear that minor 11 chord. That might be the sound that my ear wants me to play. And because I can hear the sound that my ear wants me to play, and then more importantly, I know what that sound is and how to find it, I'm able to actually do that on my instrument. And by using an instrument like the piano, because we open up the pool of chords that are available to us, it means that we can supercharge our ear training because we can actually, expose ourselves to all these rich chord sounds and start developing those same emotional responses to them that you have with an E7 sharp 9 chord. So for me, that's probably the best reason to sit down and learn to play the piano. Now, when you start to get those chords under your hand, you start to understand that the piano and the nature of the range and two hands means that we really have a little orchestra at our fingers. And that means that when it comes to listening to songs and working out how to play songs, we have so much available. We can work out what the bass part is playing, and we have access to that on our instrument. We can play the chords in the middle. We can find the melody on the top if we need to, and we can see how all of those things interact with each other. And when you develop some hand independence, it becomes relatively easy to just sit down, put a song on, and work out how to play it. That's the main way I'm practicing these days, right? I'll sit down, I've got a pen and paper by my piano, and I open up Spotify, and I put a song on, and I go, right, I'm going to work this song out as fast as I can. And because I'm listening to the bass note, and I'm hearing a chord in relation to that bass note, and I'm doing that day in, day out, I'm just getting faster and faster at working out songs on the piano. I'm getting to the point now where I'm doing the thing I do on the guitar, which is I'll be driving home, a song will come on, and I'll go, okay, I think I've worked out what that chord progression is. I'll get in, I'll run to the piano, and I'll see if I got that right. And it's that kind of active listening and engaging with the music that you're playing that really kind of changes things, really changes your perspective and really changes the way your brain starts to process music. So I'm going to share some of my playing now, which is a nerve-wracking feeling because I've never shared a video of me playing the piano that was semi-serious. But this is me playing At Last by Etta James. And I'm proud of this. This was the first take that I did with Melissa. I worked out the tune and then I said, hey, would you come out to the studio and just quickly play this so I can see how it sounds with the voice on it? And this was our first take. And I'm proud of it because there's no notation involved in this. I didn't learn it from a sheet. I didn't learn from a video lesson. I put the song on and I worked out how to play it. I put my time in. I transcribed the basic harmony and I played it, and I put this minor 11 chord in there in a couple of spots, I think, and it's nice when it happens. But ultimately, this is me just trying to be relaxed and just listen to, play, and react to the song. So go easy on me. Here's me playing At Last.
My lonely days are over, and life is like a song. Oh, ooh, at last, the skies above are blue. My heart is wrapped in clovers. The night that I looked at you, ooh, I found a dream that I could sing to, a dream that I had never known. I found a thrill to press my cheek to, a thrill that I had never known. No. You smile and the spell is cast, and here we are in heaven, for you are mine. Oh, at last. Ooh.
And ultimately, I share that with you because, in terms of where my progress is on the piano now, I'm getting to that point where I'm considering taking a keyboard down to gigs, because the piano and the keyboard, especially the Rhodes sound, I love a Fender Rhodes sound. It gives us a different texture, and there's so many songs that would benefit from playing them on the piano over playing them on the guitar. Songs like we play Ain't Nobody in a trio setting, and that's a hard one to pull off in a trio setting. Guitar, bass, and drums, right? Sometimes you just want a little bit more sound in a setting like that, and having 10 fingers is always going to beat having 6 strings. Of course, the guitar's fantastic because you've got the attitude. You can really dig in and you can bend strings, and I can still do all of that stuff. But yeah, I'm definitely moving to that position now where I'm considering, maybe I should do some gigs just on the keyboard and see how that feels. Because when I listen to some of the bands that I'm listening to at the moment, I'm listening to a lot of the band Lawrence, absolutely fantastic band. And Clyde Lawrence, one of their singers and piano player, he's very charismatic, and he's carrying most of the weight on the keyboard. But the music's still super, super cool. There's a guitar there, but it's very, background stuff. I can't really think of many spots on Lawrence songs where I'm like, that was a really cool guitar part. But I'm constantly thinking to myself, I want to sit at the piano and play this song. And yeah, I'm getting to the stage with it where I feel that it might be something that I would be comfortable or certainly consider doing. It's only taken 3 years, but we'll see where that one ends up. Okay, so I've told you what I've learned. I've told you where I am with things and how my development is coming. But let's talk about what I can share with you in terms of how you can take the piano thing forward for yourself. So the main reason that I can kind of sell the piano in this respect is the piano is an incredibly visual instrument. I'm sure you guys have experienced buying and reading a music theory book, and you open up this book and you start taking a look at things because you want to take your music more seriously. And I'm all about that. I should kind of say this, like, people think of me as a guitar teacher, and I guess a lot of the time I think of myself as a guitar teacher, but in all honesty, I'm not a guitar teacher. I don't teach technique. I don't teach people how to shred, I don't teach people how to be high caliber guitar players. I think of myself as a music teacher first and foremost. If, a saxophonist wanted to come and have a lesson with me, I would happily do that, because I think my value as a teacher is in my understanding of music and my application of music and helping you develop your ears and just be better musicians rather than guitar players. And when you think of those theory books, I've read plenty of them when I didn't play the piano, it's always notation that's applicable to somebody who can play the piano. And that's unbelievably common. It makes sense, right? If you think of yourself as a saxophone player, saxophonist, you don't learn how to play chords on your saxophone. You learn how to play chords on the piano, and then you use the saxophone when you're playing melodically, right? I'm fascinated with, lots of great music, but one artist who I stand by, I think is, and it's incredible that we have existed in the same time period as Stevie Wonder. I think Stevie's one of the all-time greats, just a real auteur when it comes to soulful composition. It has some wonderful chordal stuff. And there's a great YouTube channel called Jazz Duets. It's run by a gentleman named Nick Holmes. And from what I can gather, Nick's primary instrument is the saxophone. But when it comes to teaching harmony, talking about chords and why chords work, the way they sound, he doesn't reach for the saxophone, of course. He uses the piano because it's the universal instrument. It's the instrument that you can use to communicate with people that play lots of different instruments. If everybody shares that kind of common ground of the understanding of a keyboard, then it means that it's much more easy for you to communicate with other musicians. And this is where things become really interesting, okay? The tips that I can give you. The best place that you can put your time when you start to learn the piano, especially if you're looking to, really supercharge your ears and be able to learn songs, okay? First of all, Adam Neely refers to the idea of arranger's piano, okay? And what I think of when I hear that term is not necessarily somebody who has a lot of chops, okay? You don't need to be able to sit and play Chopin to be a piano player. You don't even need to be able to say to me, this is the correct fingering for an A-flat major scale in 4 octaves left and right hand. You can learn all of those things, absolutely, but it's possible to use the piano as a visual tool and to learn, for example, your 12 keys. And when I say, for example, that's it. Learn your 12 keys. Damn it, learn your 12 keys. If there's one thing that I could change in myself 3 years ago, I would jump back 3 years and I would slap a younger Levi around the face and be like, learn your 12 keys. Stop putting it off until tomorrow. Learn your 12 keys. On the guitar, A major and B flat major, they look and feel the same to us. But on the piano, an A major and a B flat major scale, they look and feel very different. Now, while it's totally possible, I mentioned the correct fingerings, you can learn the correct fingerings for all of these, and I know my correct fingerings for all of these, because I'm definitely going down that route of being a piano player. You can be a piano understander, would be another way of putting it, without knowing the correct fingerings. I don't think it's hugely important if you're looking to use the piano as a tool to help you understand and study music. You don't have to have the correct fingerings down. And when you remove that from the equation, you can always go back and learn the correct fingerings. But when you remove that from the equation, you can start to look at the keyboard and go, I can learn the keys as a pattern of keys, black and white keys, right? You can visually look at a keyboard and say, C major, that's all of the white notes. And then when I think of myself, when I think of a D major scale, I know that there's two sharps in there and I know what they are, right? There's an F sharp and there's a C sharp in there. So when I'm playing in the key of D, because I can see all of the allowed notes, the notes that you can play, it's much easier to find my melodies because I can confidently see where all of those notes are. And when I'm playing my chords, I can see what notes should be in the chords and what notes shouldn't be in the chords. And I guess, more importantly, when you learn a song and there's a chord which actually is non-diatonic, doesn't belong in the key, and you play it on the keyboard, you can immediately see, this chord isn't in the key of D because this chord has an F in it, and that isn't in the key of D. So maybe that's why I like the sound of this chord. So learning your 12 keys, it might feel like this huge, huge task, but if you use the circle of fifths and you start on C and then go to F and then go to B flat and then go to E flat, you just start introducing one more black key each time. And it just becomes this very quick and easy to learn series of patterns that will help you really understand no matter the key that you put yourself in. Because I can't stress this enough, guys. The transpose button is a crutch that people need to let go of on the piano. B is my least favorite key. I don't want to say I avoid it like the plague, though. You know, I go out of my way to try and play things in B because it's the hardest key for me. If I just played in F, which I find to be the easiest key, then I'd never learn anything. I'd never progress. So when I put myself in a position where I'm playing a song like Georgia on My Mind, and I sit and play that in G, like the original recording, later on in Ray's life, he would play that in F. There's lots of recordings of that in F. I could confidently say, yeah, I can play that in F. Or when Melissa said to me, I'd prefer to sing Georgia on My Mind in C. No problem. We can play that in C. You need to do it in A flat. No problem, right? That's what we want to have happen to us. And the only way that happens is by learning your 12 keys. Learn your 12 keys. It feels impossible, but if you put in that time, it's totally, totally doable. And then once you've got those 12 keys down, if I could offer one more thing for you to work on, it would be to learn your 12 major chords. If you can learn those 12 major chords, again, if you practice them round the circle of fifths, C, F, B flat, E flat, you'll learn all of your chords. But I think there's really three ways to kind of tackle these things. One is to go around the circle of fifths. One is to do them chromatically. So if you do C, D flat, D, E flat, E, and so on, I find that a very kind of a brain-breaking way of doing things and probably more useful than the circle of fifths. And then the final way of working on these would be what I would call a shape-based approach. So grouping together chords that look the same. C major, G major, and F major look exactly the same as triads. D major, E major, and A major, they look exactly the same. We use the same fingers to play them. So there's just two chords or two shapes that I've mentioned there, but that's 6 of the 12 chords. The shape that you use to play a D flat major chord, D flat, E flat, and A flat, they use exactly the same shapes. So we've learned 3/4 of the chords there with just 3 shapes. And the same thing is going to be true with inversions of these chords. You can learn these quite quickly. It's then just about really forcing yourself to sit down and learn a bunch of songs, learn vocabulary, learn to play a bass note and a chord in your right hand. And you'd be surprised how quick this stuff comes together. So that's all I have to say about learning to play the piano. If you have any questions about that at all whatsoever, or opinions, let me know in that comment section below. And while you're down there, please do click on that link to Pianote. Check those guys out and grab yourself a completely free, no obligation 30-day free trial. Great way to support the channel. And if enough people are signing up via that link, it won't be long before you see me out on their YouTube channel over at their studios in Canada. I'm buzzing to go out there, but you guys can help make that happen. So much love, guys. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you at some point on your piano journey so we can all become better musicians. Laters.